Died and 12 sustained injuries in a blast at Quetta Serena Hospital, Hotel Wada in Pakistan, where the Chinese ambassador is being hosted. Michelle Bachelet has described the verdict on George Floyd's murder trial as momentous. And Guardian medics warn of misinformation of COVID-19 vaccine-related effects. These and more coming on the world today. To stay with us. Good evening, viewers. You're watching the World Today newscast here on Africa TV. I am Sohna Tunkara, and now to our news in detail. At least 4 people were killed and 12 others wounded in a blast in the car park of Quetta Serena Hotel in northwestern Pakistan on Wednesday. According to Pakistani Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid Ahmad, a car full of explosives was set off outside the hotel in what is being described as a terrorist attack. The Chinese ambassador to Pakistan, who was reportedly in Quetta but not in the car park, is believed to have been the main target of the attack. It is the only 4-star hotel in the capital of Pakistani region of Balochistan used as a base by foreign delegations. The Taliban has taken responsibility for the attack but did not give out any details. It marks 40 days since the former Inspector General of Police Mahmoud Job passed away. The last Islamic rites after death was offered by family members, friends, and cross-section of the community who gathered at his residence in Sinchu Alaji to recite the Holy Quran and prayed for the late IGP. Amin Dao files in this report.
As today marks 40 days since the death of the former IGP Mahmoud Job, a Quran recitation was done by his loved ones at his residence in Sinchu Alaji. The death of late IGP Job leaves a void not only in the Job family but to the country at large. Papa Aliou Nyang, a relative to the late Mahmoud Job, described him as an incredible person who was always doing good things to his fellow humans.
Mu nekk koo xam ne wax dëgg Yàlla daf ma.
Mahmoud was like a blood brother to me. Whatever occasion we have, he would request for my presence and leave everything in my hands. This child you see standing beside me is the last born, and he named him after his in-law, Alhaji Keba Ndao, a father to my wife and his wife, Mariam Ndao. Mahmoud was an incredible person, and wherever we are, we will keep talking about him because he was doing good things all along until God took him away. This is why we are never tired talking about his deeds, and wherever we are always praying for him. May Allah have mercy on his soul, grant him the highest place in Jannah.
Imam Haiba Hydra, the Imam of the Banjul International Airline, preached on the importance of doing good deeds as a human.
Almami si setti mama neɗɗo e saare.
Mune imam su seede nit ci dëkk.
E diine makko.
I won't say much about Alhaji Mahmoud Job because the Imam alone is enough as a witness. If an Imam witnesses someone on the side of truth and deen, whatever someone else say will be considered as a bonus. The gathering, as we've seen since he died to date, shows who Mahmoud Job was. This should be a lesson to everyone present here, because as a human being, you don't know anything what will be said in your absence. And for Mahmoud Job, all we are saying in his absence is the good he did.
Mr. Job was appointed Inspector General of Police on the 9th July 2018, few days after the resignation of Landing Kinte. The late IGP Job has served in various units of the police force and is said to have been wealthy with vast and rich policing experience. Alhaji Mahmoud Job died on 13th March 2021 after battling a brief illness. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
Today marks the 40-day charity of the Gambia's late IGP. Now, Egyptian authorities have launched a religious awareness campaign to educate the youth, especially those unemployed, about the moderate Islam practice. The move is meant to enable moderate Islam teaching accessible for everyone as part of efforts to combat extremism. The initiated program has brought together different parties, including the media, to renew the religion preaching practices. Details in this report.
Egypt is establishing communication channels with the youth and the unemployed to educate them on moderate religious teachings. The Ministry of Endowment, the government's arm in managing mosques and public religious lecturing, is leading the project. It has partnered with 20 universities and the National High Media Council to spread educational lectures. The aim is to make moderate Islamic teachings available to everyone, in the hope that it will stop them from being recruited by terrorists.
There is an ideological conflict between those who want to build and those who want to destroy. In this conflict, there are those who strongly believe in the nation and others, unfortunately, are against the nation entirely. Both won't change their stances. The majority are those in gray areas. People who could sway to either side, those people are our target.
The country has named 2021 as the Year of Religious Awareness. The Ministry of Endowments partnered with universities to provide free graduate studies programs for religious lecturers.
We are renewing the religious preaching methodologies. We are working with the High Media Council on several tracks that include educational lectures, awareness, and televised content. We are relying on a number of well-trained men and women, preachers and journalists, to build awareness about proper religious matters.
The religious educational program complements Egypt's 2045 vision for the Sinai, a comprehensive economic plan that aims to create jobs for the youth. The government believes that both programs could diminish terrorist groups' recruitment chances and put a final end to their threats.
Now, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, has described the verdict on George Floyd's murder trial as momentous. The jury of 12 people found former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin guilty on all counts he faced over the death of George Floyd. Derek Chauvin was found guilty of murder and manslaughter on Tuesday and could face up to 75 years in prison.
His death awakens a global movement with the hashtag Black Lives Matters, as the world, especially blacks, see the death of Floyd as a racism act against black Americans in America and around the world. The High Commissioner says while justice this time was served, justice remains elusive for countless other victims of African descent and their families in the United States and throughout the world.
This is a momentous verdict. It is also a testament to the courage and perseverance of George Floyd's family and many others in calling for justice. As the jury recognized, the evidence in this case was crystal clear. Any other result would have been a travesty of justice. But for countless other victims of African descent and their families, in the United States and throughout the world, the fight for justice goes on. The battle to get cases of excessive force or killings by police before the courts, let alone win them, is far from over. This case has also helped reveal, perhaps more clearly than ever before, how much remains to be done to reverse the tide of systemic racism that permeates the life of people of African descent.
Commissioner Michel adds that revisiting the past from discrimination policy and others should be looked into in order to be a turning point for justice.
Now is the time to critically examine the context in which George Floyd's killing took place by revisiting the past and examining its toxic traces in today's society. The entrenched legacy of discriminatory policies and systems, including the legacies of enslavement and transatlantic trade, and the impact of colonialism, must be decisively uprooted in order to achieve racial justice and equality. If they are not, the verdict in this case will just be a passing moment when the stars align for justice rather than a true turning point.
Last June, the United Nations Human Rights Council held a special session on the systematic racism and police brutality against people of African descent following the killing of Floyd by Chauvin on May 25th. George Perry Floyd Jr. was an African-American man murdered by the police during an arrest after a store clerk alleged he had passed a counterfeit $20 bill in Minneapolis. Derek Chauvin, one of 4 police officers who arrived in the scene, knelt on Floyd's neck and back for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
From the reports by Mariama Cham, we move on. Former Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Fafa Idris has told the Commission that he accepted the offer to work with the Council because he was patriotic and wanted a greater good for his country, but not to enable dictatorship. Barrister Mbai made the remarks as he continued his testimony before the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission on Wednesday. And according to him, the idea he had for better Gambia had surpassed that of the Council, and that made work difficult for him.
In ending his testimony at the Commission, Mr. Mbai says laws made to violate rights of people are bad laws. He reveals that he wanted to see a country where laws would be practiced, and that was why he accepted to work as Attorney General for the AFPRC. Lawyer Mbai adds that it was this conviction that made him join the Council and not to aid authoritarianism.
That the initial intentions of the members of the AFPRC were also well-meaning for the nation.
AFPRC kene bu njëkka bim amon biñoo taw dama fogon ne lolu mo gënon pour réew mi.
It was never my intention to enable a dictatorship either wittingly or unwittingly.
Musuta nekk suma kene pour ma taxawal nguuri jaay doole yëg naa ko yëguma ko wala xam naa ko wala xawma ci dara loolu nekkutoon suma kene pour taxawal nguuri jaay doole.
Far from it.
Dafa sori loolu sax.
I was not the architect of the decrees referred to since then.
Since
the proceedings of the Commission.
Mbai, who served as an advisor to the Council, says the difference in background he had with the Council members was an obstacle to his job, noting that he had much more stake for the maintenance of law in the country than they could comprehend.
The stake I had, the reason I had for this country to be stable was greater than they could understand, greater than they could even understand.
Man gom bima am pour rew mi nek ci rewi loi taxaw fi moy dalil bo xamne mo oppa ñom sen boss.
That was the difficulty, the enormous dilemma, as I said it.
The ex-Attorney General, however, accepts responsibility for some of the decrees enacted while he was serving as Minister of Justice, but was quick to say he had strongly advised against laws that would have violated human rights.
Unfortunately,
the
table turned when greed and self-interest took over the priorities of the members of the APRC.
Table bi wéccé kuna bi ñaka doylu ak xalaat yu bon yi duggé ci mbir mi.
And they betrayed the people by discarding into the waste bin their initial wholesome and honorable intention of nation building.
Fafa Idris Mbai was born in 1942 in Nyaminedankunku at Samba Wolof village in Central River region. He attended Armitage High School and later traveled abroad to study law. He became Attorney General and Minister of Justice from 1982 to 1984 in the First Republic. He had also served in the same position in the AFPRC government after the military took over the country in 1994. For iAfrica TV, Omar Ahmad Toure reporting.
From the reports by Omar Ahmad Toure on matters of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, we now go with a short commercial break and the news continues. Stay tuned.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is the World Today newscast here on iAfrica TV. And now to the rest of our stories. The assessment of damages caused by the recent fire outbreak in Cape Town has commenced after the firefighters managed to contain the wildfire. Several structures, including the city's historic museum and the university, are among properties damaged by the fire, according to the authorities. The university students and other people that evacuated due to the fire are now about to return to their places. Details in this report.
Adehamond falls within the last group of people to be vaccinated against COVID-19 in Ghana, per the country's rollout plan, which is by the end of the year. But she's uncertain about taking the shot.
I heard some people died in the UK after taking the vaccine. Here in Ghana, some people complained of side effects after getting the shot. I don't know what will happen to me when I take the jab, so I'm afraid of the COVID-19 vaccination.
More than 800,000 people in Ghana have so far received the first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine. The initial...
The battle to contain one of Cape Town's worst fires in recent years is almost over, and now the city is counting its losses. Helicopters have conducted aerial water bombing in high sections of the mountain to put out fires at hotspots. Some firefighting crews are still on the scene, doing the same in lower parts of the mountain.
We currently have minimal crews on the mountain slopes, mostly seasonal firefighters that's doing the mop-up operation. Because after such a fire over such a vast area, the aftermath and the overall takes quite some time. So I predict here by Friday, Saturday, we won't have anyone there with mopping up operations. But mostly there will be a couple of flare-ups, but that will be also in the burnt area.
Local authorities say 11 structures have been destroyed and vast parts of Table Mountain have been bent. The University of Cape Town's African Studies Program library also went up in flames, destroying priceless print and audiovisual material.
It impacted on a lot of different things. It was just not only the fire with the vegetation and the structures that was damaged in the fire. The iconic structure, the Mostard's Mill, that was now damaged, and most probably the damages at the UCT, the Jagger Library, where they needed a structural engineer to see, obviously with the structural integrity of the building, does it need to be rebuilt.
Students who were evacuated from the university's dormitory are set to return in the next 24 hours, once firefighters give them the all clear. Many Cape Town residents volunteering at the fire station are also set to stand down. While the flurry of activity at this central fire station has all but died down, donations of food and drink continue to pour in for firefighters who remain in the mountains tending to the hotspots. And those hotspots are being monitored very carefully by authorities, who are also checking on the 4 firefighters who were injured while trying to put out the blaze.
The report, moving on to our last story. Ghanaian health personnel have expressed concerns over misconception of the COVID-19 vaccine, thus warning the public against spreading fake news of side effects related to ongoing vaccination. About 800,000 people have received the AstraZeneca jab so far since the immunization campaign began last month. The government said it is expecting more doses of AstraZeneca vaccine as part of efforts to widen the vaccination program. Here is more of that in this report.
Adehamond falls within the last group of people to be vaccinated against COVID-19 in Ghana, per the country's rollout plan, which is by the end of the year. But she's uncertain about taking the shot.
I heard some people died in the UK after taking the vaccine. Here in Ghana, some people complained of side effects after getting the shot. I don't know what will happen to me when I take the jab, so I'm afraid of the COVID-19 vaccination.
More than 800,000 people in Ghana have so far received the first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine. The initial phase targeted healthcare workers, journalists, and vulnerable groups when it began in March. Health experts say misinformation about the potential side effects of COVID-19 vaccines and fake news could be preventing people from getting vaccinated.
The people who are good at explaining and sending messages are the bad news. It's the one that travels very fast, because you don't need too much to say that the vaccine is not good. You need to spend more time before you explain to the person that the vaccine is good.
Rabiu Alassan is part of a WHO African network of fact-checkers trying to fight misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines and the pandemic.
When we had reports that some European countries had suspended the deployment of the vaccines because of blood clots, I think one important step that we took as the WHO Africa Infodemic Alliance was the swift nature. The Secretariat sent us the verified information with regards to what had come from the European Medical Agency. So quickly we put out that information with regards the credible information that had come up.
Ghana says it expects to receive more doses of AstraZeneca vaccines next month. It will use it to roll out the second shot to people that have already received the first dose. Ghana aims to vaccinate 20 million people by the end of the year. Experts say people like Ade Hammond need to be convinced to take the shot so the country can achieve herd immunity.
Well, with that story ends tonight's World Newscast with me, Sohna Tunkara. Gambia 24 is up next with Mariama Cham at 2000 hours. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely evening.
Star GSM Electronics. Special Ramadan promotion starting from April 4th to 15.